quite beautiful, but I grew up on the side of town with not a lot of money, and with very strict parents, very religious parents, so no TV in the house. Well, there was TV in the house, we weren't allowed to watch TV. A lot of rules, going out at night, and so how I escaped two things. When my father wasn't home, I would watch old movies, and they were usually from the 1940s, and during the 1940s, women were quite feminine, but they were also very strong. And so the balance of being feminine and dressing the feminine part, but being just as strong as the men was a huge influence for me growing up. And also Vogue magazines, because Vogue, $3, and if you don't have a lot of money, you can still buy a magazine. And I still have my collection of Vogues that I reference when designing collections to this day. But it was a way to escape. So it was a world that I wanted to be a part of, that I created in my head. And the girls around me got attention by wearing tight clothes or minimal clothes. And it was just the time, or the area that I was growing up in. And yet what I saw and what I aspired to were women getting attention because of their brains. And, in the movies, of course, they look beautiful. They have their red lips and their Lana Turner hair. But the idea that you can be strong and get what you want through your mind is what inspired me. And if anything, if I could leave you guys with today, it's whatever you aspire to do, you can do it through your mind and through convincing others in your point of view, in your opinion. And your point of view should be different from everyone else's, and that's what will make you stand out. And in fashion, if you have a point of view and you stick to it and you believe in it, you will succeed. Fashion is an arena where being an individual is quite important, and there's not many fields that celebrate that. So you guys have made a good choice, and congratulations for being here, because you all had to do quite a lot to get here, from what I understand. Sorry, I'll go on and on. Stop me.
No, it's okay. So you always knew you wanted to be in the world of fashion, but did you always know you wanted to be a designer? Because I knew I wanted to work in fashion. I was from Bermuda, so that was worlds away, and I only knew what I saw on TV.
Right.
That was model, designer.
Right.
That was it.
Right.
So I didn't really know, but I knew I wanted to kind of be in that in the world somehow. So how did you know you wanted to be a designer? Did you know that when you were in high school?
I didn't. No, I knew I wanted to be in fashion. I thought an editor, actually, or I thought someone that dressed people, whether that was a stylist, I wasn't quite sure. And designer just kind of happened after about 14 years of working in fashion and in a lot of different aspects of fashion. When I was probably about 8 or 9, I was shopping for back to school, and I was in Mervyn's, which is a store in California, kind of similar to JCPenney's. And I didn't like my options. It was really the only department store that was in our city. And so I asked my mom, why are these clothes here? Why is it not what I'm seeing in magazines and on television? And she loves that. She loves that because, she couldn't provide it for me. So she was like, well, sweetie, you have to be a buyer, and the buyers are the ones that put the clothes in the stores. And so from there, my goal was to be a buyer. And I tried with Macy's, and I couldn't get in. And this is years, like from that age through high school, my goal then was to be a buyer. And in high school, I tried to be a buyer for Macy's, and I couldn't get accepted into that. And then Bloomingdale's was in San Francisco, which was about 2 hours away from me. I tried to get accepted into that and couldn't. And so I just worked retail for many, many years.
Yeah. Well, that's a good start.
Yeah. So, I tell people that it's just as important to try things in fashion, if that's what your love is, and be able to cross things off of your list that you don't like. It's fine, because it will just get you closer to what you do want. Don't let that discourage you that you spent a year or 6 months or whatever it was working at a certain store or a certain job that you didn't like. It all gets you closer to your goal.
Exactly.
And all of that experience is quite helpful. Still be the first to show up, be the last to leave, be cheerful, be helpful, because your boss will notice that and will promote you or put you in a position that you want to be in eventually if you earn it.
Okay. How would you describe your design aesthetic?
My design aesthetic is what I call classic with a twist. I definitely take influences from the 1940s women that I was so inspired by, still, every single collection. But I don't want to look like everybody else in the room. I want to have a voice, and I want my clothes to be secondary. I want my clothes to be secondary to me. So while I love clothing and I love telling a story through clothing, and I love that we can change our personalities and change who we want to be that day with hair, makeup, and clothing, I want that to be secondary, and I want people to look at me, hear me, my thoughts, my spirit. And I think although we are in the business of fashion, it is to make the individual look better, that the individual should shine.
Instead of the clothing.
Instead of the clothing, yes.
So walk us through the process of putting together a collection. Like, who makes up the design team? Who are all the different
Great
facets?
question. So putting together a collection is twofold. So I have a designer line that I've been doing for about 8 years now. And the designer line, there's 4 collections a year, 2 during Fashion Week and 2 pre-collections. And then I have a collection that I do for Macy's, and that's 12 times a year.
Wow.
So that's once a month, and the design process is exactly the same, just a lot more work.
He's very busy.
Very busy.
Once a month and whole new collection.
Yes, it's a lot. I'm blessed to have a team, and you really